We are live.
Hey, everybody, welcome to What Happened This Week, the Enoch Pratt Free Library's current events quiz. I'm your host, Paula Willey. I work at the Orleans Street branch where I help people find information and resources every day. I'm here with 5 multiple choice questions about what's been happening in the world. Have you been paying attention? Hey, don't worry if you don't know all the answers. We'll go over them at the end and share some great ways to learn more. The top story in the news this month was the invasion of Ukraine by Russian forces. After months of troop buildups, warnings of violence, and vague assurances of peace, Russia's invasion of Ukraine began on February 24th. Russia attacked several major cities, including the capital of Kyiv. Since then, much of the world has watched and sent support in the form of aid to Ukraine and sanctions against Russia, as Ukrainians have resisted with everything they have. You hear the word sanctions a lot in the news, but what are sanctions? According to DowJones.com, economic sanctions are actions taken by one government or group against another. They are meant to reduce the standard of living in the target country and make that country's citizens less satisfied with their government. In this case, America and Europe have stopped doing business with Russia's central bank and cut off Russia's access to any of its money that's held outside Russia. And according to an article in The Economist, private companies are penalizing Russia too. Apple is no longer selling iPhones in Russia, Nike's stopping online sales, and the shipping company Maersk will no longer visit Russian ports. We've learned about supply chains this year. Supply chain problems are about to get pretty big for Russians this spring. 1.5 million people have left their homes looking for safety in neighboring countries since the invasion began, while others who remain are sheltering in basements and subway stations to get away from air attacks. My question for you, can you find Ukraine on a map? Is it A, B, C, or D? There is a lot of conflict in our world, but one country straight up crossing into another country and starting a war is a thing that hasn't happened in a long time. This is a big deal. One person who has been in the news because of Russia's attack on Ukraine is Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. This guy has sprung into action, working the phones to get help from the United States and other allies. Despite attempts on his life, he has not evacuated and continues to visit troops and walk the streets of Kyiv. My question for you, where did Mr. Zelensky learn how to be a leader? What was his job before being elected president of Ukraine? Was he in real estate? Was he a military man? Was he a lawyer? Or was he a comedian? Most people come to politics with a law degree, but we've also seen teachers, business people, doctors, and others run for office. Can't think of any librarians off the top of my head, but there must have been some. Question 3. Hey, happy Women's History Month. Our next question is about Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. President Biden nominated Judge Brown for the U.S. Supreme Court last month. If her nomination is confirmed by Congress, she will be the first Black woman to sit on the highest court in the country. At a formal White House ceremony, Biden said, "It is my honor to introduce to the country a daughter of former public school teachers, a proven consensus builder, an accomplished lawyer, a distinguished jurist on one of the nation's most prestigious courts." In a lecture, Judge Brown once said that there was one after school activity that she did at her high school in Miami that really prepared her for that judicial life. Was it A, debate team, B, chess club, C, high school musicals, or D, basketball team? The Supreme Court is comprised of 9 judges who are appointed for life. When the Supreme Court rules on a constitutional issue, that judgment is virtually final. Its decisions can only be altered by a constitutional amendment or a new ruling of the court. Question 4. Meet Hank the Tank. Hank is a very large black bear. How large is Hank? Hank is estimated to weigh about 500 pounds. He's just a little lighter than a motorcycle. Hank lives in Lake Tahoe, California, and he has been in the news lately. My question for you, how did this bear get famous? A, he learned to say 8 words in American Sign Language. B, he's wanted for breaking and entering. C, he ate 57 salmon in 2 hours. Or D, He rescued a cat from a tree. Black bears are the most common type of bear in North America. They typically live in forests, but are also found in mountains and swamps. Despite their names, black bears can be blue-gray or blue-black, brown, cinnamon, or even very rarely white. Although they are not terribly aggressive, they are also not to be fooled with. Never feed or approach any kind of bear. Also not to be messed with, space junk. That's a bad segue. That's right. Don't feed or approach space junk. What is space junk? It's any piece of machinery or debris left by humans in space. Space junk can be big, like broken satellites, or it can be tiny, like tiny little bits of debris or even paint flecks that have fallen off a rocket. Last week, a rocket part that's been drifting around for years collided with the moon. It was the first time a chunk of space junk has unintentionally slammed into the Earth's one and only moon. It hit the moon's surface at about 5,500 miles an hour, probably resulting in a big flash and a crater, but we couldn't see it because it happened on the far side of the moon. As you can see in this video, the surface of the moon is 100% covered in craters. Because the moon has no protective atmosphere, objects like asteroids don't slow down or burn up as they approach our poor little moon, and it just gets hammered by anything passing by. My question for you. Oh, we've got a lightning true or false round. Very exciting. True or false? There's water on the moon. True or false? The moon has earthquakes. True or false? The US is the only country to land a person on the moon. True or false? The moon is moving toward the Earth. And true or false? The Earth's moon is the largest in the solar system. Lots to think about here. There are at least 26,000 pieces of space junk orbiting Earth that are the size of a softball or larger, and over 500,000 objects the size of a marble. That big. And there are over 100 million pieces of space junk that are the size of a grain of salt. Even a piece of debris that tiny could puncture a spacesuit and put an astronaut's life in danger, according to a NASA report issued last year. Somebody needs to get up there with the vacuum cleaner. All right, 5 questions, ready for some answers. Did you find Ukraine on a map? That's right, here it is next to Russia. What do you notice here? Russia is this big yellow guy, and Ukraine is comparatively smaller right here on its border. And yet, Ukrainian troops have done better than expected fighting against the Russian invasion. Let's learn a little bit more about Ukraine using the CIA World Factbook. If you ever use this resource, this is great for assignments and homework and for learning about our country in general. So we're going to search on Ukraine. It's going to give us pictures, the flag, the map, a summary, travel facts, a little bit about its history and environment, how many people live there, and so much more. Pay no attention to the fact that it's put out by the CIA. It is an amazing resource. All right, back to the quiz. Answer 2. That's right. Vladimir Zelensky was a comedian before being elected president. His biggest role was a history teacher who got elected president, sort of by accident, on a Ukrainian sitcom called Servant of the People, or in Ukrainian, Slova Narodu. My husband actually watched the first few episodes of this, and he thought it was really cute. And like many celebrities, Vladimir Zelensky, the comedian, found himself on a reality show. Here he is on Ukraine's version of Dancing with the Stars, which he won. Look at those moves. Of course he won. No wonder this guy also won the presidential election, and by a wide margin. He is a real Slova Narodu. Nice. Answer 3. Ketanji Brown, what did she do in high school? She was a debater. Just look at her in this picture from her yearbook. Have you ever seen anything cuter? You can think of debate as the art of arguing. If you have a debater in your house, you'll know that it's very difficult to win an argument with them. Judge Jackson says, "That was an experience that I can say without hesitation was the one activity that best prepared me for future success in law and in life. I learned how to reason and how to write, and I gained the self confidence that can sometimes be quite difficult for women and minorities to learn at an early age." Debaters also gain experience doing research, organizing information, and speaking in public. And that confidence Judge Brown speaks of, they often wear it on their chests. Answer 4. Oh, poor Hank. Our buddy Hank the Tank has been accused of breaking into at least 28 homes since July looking for leftover pizza and other food. California Department of Fish and Wildlife officials and local police have tried to scare him off with sirens, and he's been hit with paintballs, beanbags, and even tasers. Residents have called the police about Hank more than 150 times since July as he continues to rampage through this gated community about 190 miles northeast of San Francisco. But twist, it turns out that Hank has been unfairly accused, or at least he didn't work alone. DNA evidence at the scenes of the crimes, that's right, authorities analyzed hair and, saliva left in these houses, showed that at least 2 other bears committed some of those break-ins. Given the new evidence, officials say they are no longer planning to euthanize Hank. This is not Hank, this is a different bear, but you can see how crafty they are when it comes to trying to get at that leftover pizza. So given the new evidence, if captured, wildlife experts say their plan is to trap, tag, and work to relocate these 3 human food habituated bears. All right, answer 5. True or false lightning round about the moon? A, yes, there is a little water on the moon in the form of ice trapped within dust and minerals on and under the surface. B, yes, the moon has earthquakes. They're called moonquakes, and they can last up to half an hour. They're quite mild compared to the earthquakes on Earth. C, the United States is the only country where people have physically placed flags on the moon. 24 people have visited the moon and 12 have walked on it. 4 other countries, China, Japan, India, and the former Soviet Union, and the European Space Agency have sent unmanned spacecraft or probes to the moon. D, false. The moon is in fact moving approximately 3.8 centimeters away from our planet every year. Bye-bye, baby. And E, false. The biggest moon in our solar system is Jupiter's moon Ganymede, with a radius of 1,635 miles. It's not only bigger than our moon, which has a radius of just over 1,000 miles, it's still in the top 5, if you see there here. But Ganymede is also bigger than Mercury and Pluto. Did you know that you can explore the moon yourself thanks to NASA? This website is the Solar System Exploration website from NASA, and it works just like Google Earth. You get to zoom in and roll around and take a look up close at our moon. Pretty neat. So that's our quiz. Thanks for playing. Before you go, though, here with a message from the Baltimore City Health Department, our teen vaccine ambassadors, Sophie Murray, Chloe Murray, and Aflal Mohammed. What have you got for us, guys?
Hi, guys. I wanted to welcome you all. It's Baltimore versus COVID quiz questions. This is our presentation today. Who are we? We are 3 Value Baltimore youth ambassadors. We aim to educate and inform about COVID-19. And Value Baltimore stands for Vaccine Access and Acceptance, lives in unity, education, and engagement. We also want to provide resources for everyone to have the opportunity to get vaccinated, and that's part of what we're going to talk about today.
So we have some quiz questions for you. So the first question is, what are the easiest ways to protect yourself from COVID-19? And the second question is, which people are most likely to get COVID-19?
Well, before we go over the quiz answers, we'll go over how do I stay safe. So one way we can stay safe is wearing masks, um, contact tracing, vaccination, washing hands frequently for 20 or more seconds, spreading information, taking a COVID test if you feel sick or were exposed, adhering to the correct amount of quarantine.
Okay, so the answer to the first question is letter A, getting vaccinated and wearing your mask well indoors. And then the answer to number 2 was B. The people that are most likely to get affected by COVID-19 are elderly, immunocompromised, and if you don't know what that means, those are people with pre-existing health conditions that like COVID affects, and the unvaccinated.
Here is the QR code you guys can scan to look for a vaccination site or even register for a vaccination site.
That is awesome. Thank you, guys. Just a reminder, most Pratt Library locations have free COVID-19 test kits and KN95 masks. I want to thank our friends. As always, your news quiz relies on authoritative sources for our information, and so should you. Thank you for playing along, and thanks to our vaccine ambassadors. Let's watch some videos of black bears in the wild from Yosemite National Park while I read you some excerpts from a message from Ukrainian Library Association President Oksana Brui. Dear library community, together with you, we are at the forefront of fights with fakes, disinformation, and cyber threats. Libraries are places of safety and freedom where everyone in need gets free access to information, internet, psychological support, assistance in solving life challenges. Libraries are power places where people find themselves. Today, when we are facing the threat of a full-scale war with Russia, all of us librarians realize our importance and our responsibility. Let's support each other. We know that together we overcome everything. Staying calm, having love to our readers, libraries, and Ukraine. Glory to